The CEO's life was perfect on paper: luxurious offices, endless wealth, and a family everyone envied. But behind the polished doors of his mansion, a quiet pain lingered. His son, a bright and curious boy, had never spoken a single word. Doctors had tried everything. Therapists had visited endlessly, but nothing seemed to break through the silence that filled their home. The CEO watched helplessly as his son observed the world with wide, expressive eyes, yearning to communicate but trapped in silence. Then, one ordinary afternoon, something unexpected happened. The janitor, a quiet man who always seemed to fade into the background, was cleaning near the boy's playroom. He noticed something that no one else had: the way the boy's eyes lit up at certain sounds, the subtle movements that hinted at hidden understanding. And without warning, the janitor pulled out an object that would change everything. The boy's reaction was instant, raw, and unforgettable. The room fell silent, but the tension was electric. Could this be the key that finally helped the boy speak? Or was it something even more shocking that no one could have imagined? The CEO, the janitor, and the boy were about to face a moment that would leave them all stunned, and nothing would ever be the same. The janitor, Mr. Harris, had been working at the CEO's mansion for years, quietly observing the family from the shadows. No one really paid attention to him. He was just part of the background, sweeping floors, fixing minor issues, and always polite but invisible. Yet he had a gift that no one knew about. He understood children in a way adults often overlooked. He noticed small gestures, tiny patterns, and unspoken signals that revealed emotions, thoughts, even words waiting to be expressed. The CEO, though successful in business, had always struggled to connect with his son. Meetings, contracts, and deadlines consumed his days, leaving little room for the subtle patience the boy required. Therapists had labeled the boy as nonverbal, but Mr. Harris suspected there was more beneath the surface. He had been quietly studying the boy, trying different approaches in his own time, hoping to uncover a breakthrough that others couldn't see. When the janitor pulled out that object, it wasn't just a random act, it was a culmination of months of observation and understanding. The boy's eyes widened, his tiny hands trembling as if he recognized something familiar, something powerful. The CEO stood frozen, heart racing, unable to predict what would happen next. Could this simple item unlock a world the boy had been silently longing to share? The suspense hung thick, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats. The room seemed to hold its breath as the boy stared at the object in Mr. Harris's hands. It was simpler, small, worn notebook filled with colorful symbols and drawings, but to anyone else, it was just a child's doodles. To the boy, however, it was a world waiting to be unlocked. Mr. Harris had discovered it in the attic months ago, left behind by the boy's late mother, who had always believed her son could communicate in ways no one else understood. The CEO watched with a mixture of hope and fear. He had spent years trying to fix his son, pouring money into specialists, but nothing had worked. Now, a janitor man he barely noticed before was holding the key to a part of his son he had never reached, and yet, a part of him resisted. What if this led to disappointment? What if the boy's silence was permanent, and this moment only deepened their longing? Meanwhile, the boy's world was expanding. He reached for the notebook, fingers brushing the symbols, eyes wide with wonder. For the first time, there was a spark of recognition, a connection forming between what he saw and what he wanted to say. Mr. Harris encouraged him gently, patient but firm, guiding him through the shapes and patterns. The tension in the room grew. Everyone felt that something monumental was on the verge of happening, yet no one knew if it would bring joy, shock, or heartbreak. The stage was set for a revelation that could change everything. The boy's tiny hands hovered over the notebook, trembling as if he could feel the weight of every unspoken word inside him. Mr. Harris stayed close, his calm presence a steady anchor in the whirlwind of emotions. The CEO could barely breathe, standing frozen at the doorway, his mind racing with memories of missed moments and lost chances. Every second felt stretched, heavy with anticipation. The symbols in the notebook seemed to pulse with meaning, each one a whisper from the boy's mind begging to be heard. He traced a familiar shape and suddenly froze, his eyes locking with Mr. Harris's, in a moment of silent understanding. The janitor's voice was barely above a whisper, urging him gently, "You can do it. I know you can." The CEO stepped closer, heart pounding, torn between wanting to intervene and fearing that his presence might disrupt this fragile breakthrough. The boy's lips quivered, a small gasp escaping, as if he were on the verge of saying something no one had ever heard. The air in the room felt electric, charged with years of longing, frustration, and hope. Time seemed to stop. The boy's eyes darted between the notebook, Mr. Harris, and his father, a storm of emotion building behind his silence. Everyone knew that whatever happened next could change their lives forever, but the outcome hung just out of reach, leaving the tension unbearable. The moment was so close, yet impossibly fragile, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Just as the boy's lips trembled, and the first sound seemed about to break free, a sudden knock at the door startled everyone. The CEO's heart sank. He hadn't expected anyone else in this private moment. A nurse, sent from the boy's latest specialist, had arrived unannounced, her presence breaking the fragile bubble of focus. She stepped inside, clipboard in hand, glancing nervously at the notebook. I thought I'd check on him, she said hesitantly, her eyes scanning the room. The boy flinched, his small body recoiling as if the interruption had pulled him back into silence. Mr. Harris's calm demeanor wavered for just a moment, and the CEO felt a surge of frustration. Years of trying, and now this disruption could ruin everything. But then something even stranger happened. The boy's gaze didn't shift back to the nurse or his father. It fixed on a small corner of the room where a familiar shadow moved. It was another object, almost Haduna's simple music box, one the boy's mother had once cherished. The boy's eyes lit up with recognition, but this time, it wasn't just curiosity. A flicker of fear mixed with excitement passed over him, as if the music box carried a secret he hadn't shared. Mr. Harris realized that this second discovery could either unlock the boy's voice completely or overwhelm him, sending him retreating further into silence. The room was heavy with tension, every heartbeat echoing the uncertainty of what would come next. The boy's trembling fingers finally reached the music box. As he lifted the lid, a soft, familiar tune filled the room, delicate and haunting. His eyes widened, and for the first time, a sound escaped his lips, a clear, small voice whispering, "Mom." The CEO's chest tightened, tears threatening to fall. Years of frustration, heartache, and longing all poured into that single word. Mr. Harris smiled through his own tears, knowing that patience, observation, and belief had finally bridged the gap between silence and voice. The CEO stepped closer, kneeling beside his son, his hand gently covering the boy's small one. "I'm here, son. I've always been here," he said, his own voice breaking. The boy repeated the word, louder this time, and then tried a second, "Daddy." The room erupted with emotion, a mix of relief, joy, and disbelief. It seemed the years of silence had finally ended, but just as the father and son embraced, the boy's eyes darted back to the music box, and his tiny hands pointed insistently toward a folded note hidden beneath it. The CEO carefully unfolded it and read the words his late wife had left, a secret message revealing a family truth no one had known. A message that promised to change not only their understanding of the boy's silence, but the entire course of their lives. The joy of the moment clashed with the weight of a new mystery, leaving everyone stunned and wondering what would come next. The CEO carefully read the note, his eyes widening with a mix of shock and awe. It revealed that his wife had always known their son could communicate in ways others couldn't understand, and she had left clues to guide anyone patient enough to notice. Every small gesture, every subtle movement the boy had made over the years suddenly made sense. The message was not just a guide, it was a declaration of love, a bridge between the silence and the voice that had finally emerged. The boy, now more confident, repeated a few more words, each one met with laughter, tears, and gentle encouragement from his father. Mr. Harris quietly stepped back, knowing his role had been crucial but understanding that this was a moment for family to reclaim. The bond between father and son grew stronger with every shared word, every smile, and every laugh. By the evening, the mansion felt lighter, filled with joy and the sound of a boy discovering his own voice. The CEO realized that wealth and success could never replace presence, patience, and love. And though the note hinted at secrets of the past, it also carried hope for the future, a family finally united, stronger than ever, and ready to face life together. The silence was gone, but the lessons in love would remain forever.